Okay, I think we're live on YouTube.
Yay!
I believe we are.
Hi,
Yes.
everybody.
Hi, YouTube.
Hello, everybody.
Hi. As you can tell, we are live on YouTube talking about Genie and Genie Plus and Lightning Lane and all of that, which started at Walt Disney World, only Walt Disney World so far, today, October 19th. I am Brian McNichols. With me is Becky there, whose last name I realized I don't think I've ever said out loud.
I was waiting for it. Gandillon. It's Gandillon.
Okay. See, I would have put a French Gandillon on there or something.
Yep.
Probably. But, and Fred Hazelton. I know how to say his name. Oh, I have to point the other way. Okay, there he is up there. Yeah, it's reversed from mine. It's weird. But yeah, so we're gonna try to keep this to about a half an hour. But the good news is we plan on being back, same bat time, same bat channel on Thursday, October 21st. Yeah, to answer even more questions once we know a little bit more about this. Yeah, like you guys, we are just learning about how all of this stuff works. So quickly, I guess, to start, maybe we should just give like a real brief intro about kind of what the differences are between like Genie, Genie Plus, that kind of stuff. Becky, you have been really in the trenches all day dealing with this stuff. Do you want to go for it?
Yeah, I don't know if I'd call it in the trenches. I wasn't in the parks, right? Shout out to our in-park testing team, really in the trenches today. But today we're going to be mostly focusing on Genie Plus and those lightning lanes, and Thursday is going to be more focused on Genie. So what are the differences there? Genie is the free thing that everyone gets when they open up MDE. It is now part of my Disney experience. With Genie come a few things. You get to see a tip board that basically tells you where all the standby times are, so very similar to something they had in the past. You also have a baby day planning functionality. I'm trying to choose my words here wisely. This is why we're not talking about it yet, because we're really going to test out the limits of that. We have a few answers to some questions about it today, but it's trying to optimize and send you some places. And there's been a lot of chatter on social media about that today. But a lot of what our in-parks team was testing today was Genie Plus and Lightning Lanes. Lightning lanes are the physical queues in the parks that used to be the Fast Pass lines, right? So those are now Lightning Lanes. Cool. Genie Plus is how you get into those, unless you have DAS or you're rider swapping or whatever. Genie Plus is what you pay $15 a day for, asterisk, plus tax, as we all learned today. That went over well. So you pay for Genie Plus. You get to make those return times pretty much like Fast Pass was pre-pandemic, and then you get to go into the Lightning Lane. In addition to that, there are the individual Lightning Lane access rides, so that's 2 rides per park where you don't get Genie Plus access. You either stand by or you have to pay for it individually, either on top of Genie Plus or instead of Genie Plus. So Genie Plus, Lightning Lanes, and individual Lightning Lane access. All of those things we'll be talking about today.
Oh, this is what's going to drive me crazy, I think.
It already has. I mean, we've been talking about this for a month, and just right there, even I have about 7 questions just in those explanations. Like, it's complicated, but anyway, we'll see how that goes. And eventually, I mean, I'm hoping we'll all get used to it once we get going on this, because I'm still thinking in the Fast Pass world. We'll see. Yeah,
and it's easy to still slip back into the Fast Pass terminology and then have to correct myself on it.
Yeah.
But, well, Chrissy was saying Chrissy spent a lot of time at guest relations and with various CMs today, and they slipped up back into calling it Fast Pass multiple times. So it's not just us.
Yeah, that's good to know. And Fred, you are not the only one who has questions, as you can see on the. Now let's see if I can point the right way. This way, yeah. We have some. Sorry, I'm really obsessed with being able to point to where everybody is for some reason. We have some questions already set up that we got from touring plans users, that we got just from people in the parks, and that we personally had about Genie, that we do have some answers for. So I think we're going to start by going through some of those questions fairly quickly. Before getting into some of your questions that you are popping up in the chat. And if we don't get to your question today, we are going to be logging all of the questions. Becky is writing what I'm sure will be an exceptionally comprehensive blog post on what we learned today. And she will handle some of that. And then we will, like I said, we will be back Thursday and we will handle some of the questions as well.
Yep. All right. Let's do questions. We're going to call this our lightning round. We're going to go fast. So coming in today, we had a testing plan where we sent our people into the parks and had them test specific things that we wanted to get answers to. So that's what these are that we're going to be showing today. First one, can you get multiple Genie Plus return times before you get into the park? This one we went sort of back and forth on in the week leading up to Genie Plus. And
no, next question.
Oh, no, you can't. Don't do that. No. So when you get one, your 120-minute timer doesn't start until the park opens. So you can get multiple before you enter the park. It's just when the park opens. So if you're not going into the park until the afternoon, grab one at 7, grab one when the park opens, keep stacking from that point. But you can't get multiple. You can't get 2 or 3 before Epcot opens.
So example, if Magic Kingdom opens at 9 a.m., you can get your first one at 7 a.m. and then you can get your next one either 2 hours after the park opens, so 11 a.m., or after you use your first one or the time window expires on your first one, whichever comes soonest. So familiar with FastPass Plus or in Disneyland Max Pass is actually a really good comparison to it. If you're familiar with that, it's similar system.
Yeah, it's
and
a
I
good
am
point.
terrible at quick answers, by the way, so please feel free to cut me off.
This is lightning round, Brian. Lightning round.
Another thing we should point out too is that, as a disclaimer, this is day 1. Like everything that we've learned so far is fully up for changing. I mean, if we know anything about, any operating a theme park, is that it's complicated, and I think Disney is really testing this thing out on day 1 as well. So as we know them now, these are the rules and the experiences. It could easily change as soon as tomorrow. Maybe we might even see something change tomorrow. So we'll see. Next question?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Let's say I'm starting my day in Magic Kingdom. I want to go to Epcot, but I'm worried I'm not going to get a Remy boarding pass. So, because they might sell out. They open again at 1 p.m. I'm not going over there till 2 p.m. Can I buy an individual Lightning Lane access for later? The answer is yes. As soon as you're eligible. If you're in a resort, that's 7 a.m. If you're not in a Disney resort, that's when the park opens. So 10 or 11 for Epcot, you can log in and you can purchase Remy. You will only be offered return times for 2 p.m. or later. So they're not going to make you buy a return time that you actually won't be in the park for, but it does work. Yay. Tested, verified.
And that seemed to work pretty well actually today.
Yeah, that's one thing that did.
Yeah. One thing. There are other things. All right. How does return time availability change throughout the day? The answer on this one, I think I did put asterisks on. It is the first day. We'll see. In general, though, at least I was pleasantly surprised by how much was available even late in the day. The one exception to that was Slinky Dog Dash. It did sell out by about 11 a.m. Eastern. So, but everything else pretty much had availability throughout the day. Hollywood Studios had the least availability. It was selling out further ahead than any other park. But the other 3 parks were pretty easy to pick up passes at.
Yeah, which is, and one of the things we suspected was the price point on these would limit the number of people willing to use them. And day 1, that seems to be the case now as it gets more popular and we get into busier times. Right.
Christmas Day, we're making no promises. All right. Options for return times, or is it always just next available? There's a 2-part answer to this one, and it's something people were very interested in. Yeah. So for individual Lightning Lane access, the ones that you're paying extra for, you get to pick the time. So at least they're nice enough to do that. For Genie Plus, though, the ones that are all included in the $15, it's just next available for the most part. The exception is park hopping. So you can make Genie Plus reservations for attractions that you're going to hop to. We'll talk about that when we get to the park hopping section. Can you cancel or modify? We initially thought the answer to this was going to be no, but the real answer is yes. And so major thanks go to one of our touring plans writers who is couch surfing the Magic Kingdom today and tested this out multiple times for us. But you can cancel. And immediately after you cancel, that opens up your slot so you don't have the cooldown. You can either rebook for the exact same attraction, so that's our workaround for modifying, but still your only choice is next available, or you can choose another one. So he canceled, I think, Alien Swirling Saucers twice in a row, booked something else, and then canceled it again and booked the same thing, and it all worked just fine.
Yeah, and this might be one of the cases where we see the ability to modify down the road. That seems like a technical problem that maybe they'll try to tackle at some point. But for now, that's the workaround.
All right. What if I am successful about getting a boarding pass for Remy at the 7 a.m. drop, but then later I decide I don't want to wait for it, or for whatever reason, I also buy individual Lightning Lane access. So we had one of our testers do this today. She got her boarding pass. Later, she bought the Lightning Lane. Wow. And it all worked, right? So she bought Lightning Lane. It didn't impact her boarding group at all. She went and used her Lightning Lane. It still didn't impact her boarding group. I think we had her hop away from Epcot before she actually used her boarding pass, but it seems like it would all work just fine. So if you want to ride Remy twice, you pay for it, but it does seem possible.
I know Seth Kuberski of the Unofficial Guides did the same thing. And his only feedback really was that he waited, I think, 45 minutes in the virtual queue. And he said, I think it was less than 5 in the Lightning Lane queue.
Right.
So his recommendation was to spend the money and not get up at 7 and deal with the virtual queue if you only want to ride it once. But you can ride it twice, because he did ride it both times. So.
All right. When can I start making Genie Plus reservations for a park that I plan to hop to? This is a really interesting one. So if I'm starting my day at Animal Kingdom, I don't think I'm going to need Genie Plus for it, but I'm going to hop to Hollywood Studios. I would totally purchase Genie Plus first. I would start making those Hollywood Studios reservations if there were times available that fit with the hop. And what does it actually work as? So I could get on at 7 a.m. My park passes for Animal Kingdom. I could start making Genie Plus reservations for Hollywood Studios. It would only offer me times 2 p.m. or after. So when you go to Genie Plus, you'll pull it up and it'll say the next available return time's 9:30 or whatever. If it's not in the park that your park passes for, though, once you click in, it will modify that and bump it out to 2 p.m. We didn't try stacking multiple to see if they kept popping right at 2 p.m., which could eventually become problematic. But it does work. So it's a little bit of a workaround to just the next available. This is an interesting one that I'd personally want to play with a little bit.
Yeah, because theoretically, like today, Magic Kingdom, Hollywood Studios opened at 9 a.m. So theoretically, at Animal Kingdom, you could get your first one. If you were staying a resort guest staying on site, you could get your first one at Hollywood Studios at 7 a.m. for 2 p.m. Then at 11 a.m., 2 hours after the park opened, you would be able to get a second one for sometime after 2 p.m. And then at 1 p.m., you could get a third one. But like Becky said, that's the part we haven't exactly tested yet, but we'll get there.
One day. All right. Let's keep going.
We're rolling.
All right. What happens if you decide to purchase Genie Plus late in the day? So you get to Hollywood Studios and the crowds are worse than you thought. Can you purchase it late in the day? Sure. Disney's always going to take your money. Why not? So as far as we can tell, we tested this out. We had one of our testers purchase it a little later in the day. And there were no warnings. There were no informational like, some return times might not be available. It was fine. They let you pay them. So shocker.
Yeah. And, that will be something that will be very interesting to see how they deal with at like Thanksgiving or Christmas week, where if you show up at the park at 11 a.m. and buy it, there's a very good chance that a lot of the major rides will be sold out for the day, and you won't know that until you buy it. So,
yep. So next 3 are going to be very similar. What happens? First one, Genie Plus return time conflicts with my dining reservation. What do they do about that? Well, the answer is that one's on you, right? You made that Genie Plus reservation time and you held that dining reservation. We tested this once, and you can go to guest relations. They'll probably change one of them for you, or you learn to time travel or be in 2 places at once. So no safeguards to prevent you from doing it. Same thing with 2 Genie Plus return times that overlap. So with FastPass, this is something that they didn't really allow. you would get errors and not be able to overlap. But you can do it with Genie Plus, at least as of today. So that's the answer to that one too. You can overlap 2 different Genie Plus return times at once. And then the next one, we'll just fly through these 3 and then you can take comments if you need to. Individual Genie Plus and individual Lightning Lane. Can you get 2 of those that overlap? Also, yes. There are no safeguards. In fact, today, Chrissy had 2 purchased Lightning Lanes, Remy and Frozen Ever After, both with the exact same return window. And they both directly overlapped with the dining reservation she had. And she was allowed to do all of that. She went to guest relations and they switched some things around for her afterwards, but no safeguards, no guardrails.
How long was her wait at guest relations?
She went really early in the day, so it was not long.
That's good.
She purchased both those Lightning Lanes before the park opened and already had the dining reservation, so it was quick to handle. What happens if you miss individual Lightning Lane return time? You paid good money for it. Something happened. Your tire blew out. I don't know. You got stuck on the Skyliner. Wah, wah, you're out of luck. At least, so when we tested this, we were 71 minutes past the end of the return time. So it was really far outside the window, but there was no recovering it unless the ride had gone down during the return time. So it's lost to you.
Again, you can try begging with the guest member or guest services, but chances are you're going to waste time trying to get that back. So,
yep. All right. What if you show up late to Genie Plus instead? So this one, I think I have that we're still testing.
Yes.
Mostly because you can return lots of different times. It seems to be pretty cast member dependent. As with Fast Pass, we're guessing there's a little bit of a grace period, but why risk it?
Yeah, with Fast Pass, the official return period was 5 minutes before the window or 15 minutes after, and that's where it would just turn green. Like the cast member didn't even have to do anything. They could still let you in after that, but then it required a cast member. We don't know yet if there are the same buffers put on Genie Plus, but I wouldn't risk it, at least for the next few days.
Yeah, and that's something that I don't think is going to change. I think some of us were hoping that maybe we'd go back to the old Fast Pass days where if you pay, thinking that, hey, we were giving out some money now, maybe we can use these later in the day, but it doesn't look like it.
No. All right, so what happens
when you could just use it? And sorry, Beck.
Go ahead.
I was going to say that was the best. That was when you could just use it anytime later in the day, and you just have like 15 paper Fast Passes.
Poker hand full of Fast Passes, yeah.
This is why we can't have nice things. They don't let us do that anymore. All right. So what happens if you miss it totally? You make a return time. You're actually not at the Magic Kingdom. You're on your couch somewhere in mid-America and you miss it, right? Can you pick another return time for that same attraction? Because here's one of the keys that didn't make a slide. If you get and use a Genie Plus return time for Buzz Lightyear, you can't go back. You already used one. You're done for the day, unless you want to wait standby. Turns out if you miss it, it's like you did it. So it's going to show up as booked. You can see on the screenshot here, you booked it. They assume you used it. So even if you don't, unless you cancel it before the window opens, it's like you used it. You don't get to make another one for Buzz later that day.
Okay.
So cancel early if you need to.
Wow, that's a lot. There's a lot going on there, and this is just what we tested on day one. There's a few. I mean, there's a whole laundry list of things that we still want to know.
And there's a few things in there that I think will most likely change. Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised. This last slide, I wouldn't be surprised if they made some adjustments to that. Maybe. I think the overlapping times is something that will most likely change, where it will at least give you a warning if you are overlapping. But
it did. Her a little like triangle at least afterwards, so it figured it out eventually.
To tell her the carousel was built in.
Yeah, go to the carousel instead.
Yeah. And they might be actually wanting to hear back from guests to decide what kind of warnings they need. Like let's just let it run for a while and then talk to guest services and see what came up and what were the real roadblocks, and then we'll see some warnings and added text in there, probably maybe even some technical changes in what you can and can't do.
Right.
That's possible. Yeah, Dave makes a good point in the chat there. This is going to make it really interesting for people that like to prep. I mean, as complicated as it is just to get the nomenclature correct, the actual, trying to game this is going to be something that, I mean, obviously we at Touring Plans love to do. but this is the most complicated one we've ever had to figure out. So that's going to be an ongoing battle as to how you make your decisions when you're there as to what to get and what not to get. It's going to be interesting.
Very interesting. Can we talk a little bit about things that got the top reactions on social media today? Yeah,
yes,
you want to go there?
Let's do that. Yes.
It's always fun. All right, we mentioned the first one, sales tax, right? No one was really like expecting that. We had been doing all our calculations on $15 a day, and it's $15.98. So I guess, if you're budgeting and you're going down to the penny, now 98 more cents per person per day.
And that's unlike Disneyland, which a guy was confirmed this morning that their Disneyland, the price includes the tax. So that was a little bit of a surprise.
Yep. The next thing that the data visualization geek in me just like cringed when I saw it, on all the little graphs, part of Genie was forecasted wait times, which everyone's like, oh, what? And so you can pull those up in MDE, but when you do, there's no y-axis label. It's just bars that go across. And what's more, it appears to mostly be normalized to the maximum weight for that specific attraction. So you can't compare attractions at all. It gives you like little shape patterns, I guess, if that's helpful to you. But our big example this morning was that it looked like in the middle of the day, It's Tough to Be a Bug would be a longer wait than Flight of Passage. So if you were a newbie, this is just Data Viz 101. Label your axes. And if they're not doing it, there's a reason they're not doing it. And we can all figure that one out.
Yeah, for real. And just to jump back a little bit to the sales tax stuff, one thing I don't think I had really worked out before was if you actually bought Genie Plus every day for like everyone in your party, which if you want to use it for everyone in your party, you have to buy it for everyone in your party. That adds up. I mean, with price including tax for a family of 4 for a week-long trip is just about $450.
Yeah, it's
extra.
Significant.
So that's
a lot.
Yeah,
that's the Mickey bar.
For real. Yeah. And I don't even want to talk about the y-axis on the graphs. It literally gives me a headache to look at that stuff.
Yeah, it's pretty nasty.
Yeah.
It's bad. Steve is scrolling our Twitter here on the screen. Great time to give a shout out to our social media team who absolutely killed it on Twitter today, in my personal opinion, getting the information out there real time. I think my favorite was Teacups or Die. So if you didn't see that, on your regular Genie list, you can swap out recommendations. It gives you a list of recommendations. If you don't agree with it, you can swap out. She tried to swap Magic Teacups at 7:30 p.m. or something, and there were nothing else. You could not do anything else at the Magic Kingdom at that time of night. So they're getting.
And there's those graphs right there are the ones Becky mentioned where it's tough to be a bug. The wait time goes up and then stays normal. At what time? They're not going to share.
Yeah.
Flight of Passage starts a little high, but then look how low it gets during the day. So obviously you want to go to It's Tough to Be a Bug first thing in the morning.
Rope drop is tough to be a bug. That's what we've learned today.
Flight of Passage,
or the carousel.
Go ahead.
And this is
the
Disney.
Carousel is very funny because there was several reports, including some of our researchers, that the Genie planning. So if it was just telling you where to go without paying for the Lightning Lane access, there was quite a few people that were being told to go to Prince Charming's Regal Carousel. I think that's still the name of it, right? And first thing in the Magic Kingdom, which if you are watching this channel and you're familiar with touring plans, know that is not generally a recommendation to do the carousel first.
Not if you're trying to optimize your wait times, but if you really like it, sure. But
yeah, I mean, if it's the only thing on your plan, then sure, do it first. But then a friend of the show, I'll say Tom Bricker, with Disney Tourist blog, posted later in the day that no matter what settings he put in, it kept recommending he go on Prince Charming's Regal Carousel, which I posted in our work chat that I really want to do a video now where I just follow Jeannie, and it just ends up with me like in tears riding the carousel for the 13th time that day, because it's the only thing it seems to want to recommend.
Yeah.
So
this is one of those day one glitches that I think we'll give him a bit of a pass on, but it's interesting. It was interesting to see.
Yeah, one of our bloggers and researchers, John, got recommended to do the carousel first, and then it was recommended that he pre-order his lunch at Pinocchio Village House at 9 in the morning or so. So I guess that was his morning.
Two things that we would never
go back
recommend.
tomorrow and it'll recommend the exact same thing.
Yeah, it might. Yeah, interesting.
We'll see. The feedback loop. All right, third thing. Obscuring wait times.
Yes.
So this was another one of our top tweets. So on the tip board, you can see all the standby waits. You can also see how much it'll cost you to buy an individual lightning lane if you need to. That's pretty good, like informed decision making, right? Those two things together. But if you flip over to My Day, which is where Jeannie puts your recommendations and it puts all of your different reservations in order for you, it doesn't display the current wait time anymore. It displays low or high, I guess. And then it says you can buy individual lightning lane. And so we were joking because on the My Day, wait times at Expedition Everest were low, but you could purchase. And then if you flipped over, you saw that it was a 5-minute standby, or you could wait 20 minutes and pay $7. So pretty fun. Pretty fun.
Interesting. I mean,
use the data. Use the data to make your decisions.
This is one of the biggest things we were concerned about or interested about was wait times. What are they going to do? Like, how are they going to publish their wait times? How accurate are they going to be? Like, and so we've learned a lot today from that, but I think there's still a lot more to come.
Yep. We're running long. So I'm going to say a couple more things that our biggest pain points were in the parks, and then we can run through a couple of questions in the chat. I will cover these in the blog. Oh, yeah.
Before you go, and I do have an update. Yvonne, one of our researchers, just posted that she got into her Genie Plus 17 minutes late, but like FastPass used to, it turned blue, and the CM, the cast member, had to let her in. She's later today. She's going to try to arrive 14 minutes late and see what happens. So.
Yay, Yvonne. Thank you.
Interesting.
All right. Pain point number 1, blended party plans. So if you purchase Genie Plus for yourself, and then try to purchase it for someone else in your party, at least as of this morning, it was super painful, and there was a workaround that you had to do. It also, if you make Genie Plus reservations for some people but not others, or dining reservations for some people or not others, it all shows up in the plan together. It was messy. This was a huge pain point for Chrissy today, so we'll be looking into that a little bit more. The other was DAS. DAS was pretty much down this morning, not working at all. Eventually it got back up, so we did things like you can hold DAS reservations and Genie Plus reservations and individual lightning lane reservations all at the same time, if that helps you out. But more to come on that. Those are all the things from in the parks today that we had planned. Hooray!
All right.
Yeah. So, Fred, have you seen any interesting questions go by that we can address fairly quickly before we jump off here?
There's a bunch. Let me see if I can find one now.
I'm sure.
People are asking just about the crowdedness in general of the park, and we don't really know that until we see our final end of day calculation. In general, it sounded pretty crowded, but we don't really know on that. So I would hesitate for anybody to try to do comparisons with wait times yesterday and today. We don't really know yet. There's a lot of people are saying that wait times are up because of Genie and the lightning lanes, but we don't really know that yet.
No, I would say anecdotally, and so this is not the data, I was seeing on Twitter a lot about wait times being doubled. We were seeing standby times that were like 10 to 15 minutes higher than peak yesterday, but that's on rides that had 70 or 80 minute posted waits. So take it all with a grain of salt.
Yeah, and that's also assuming that the crowds were the identical size they were yesterday, right, which of course, like, we don't know yet. It's still part of the way through the day. That's something that maybe Thursday we'll have a little better idea, but that's going to be a long-term thing to watch that we will definitely watch.
Did we find any indication of difficulty getting reservations when you're not in that park?
No, I would say that worked pretty well. The only caveat to that is Steve. So Steve Bloom was at home, but pretending he was in the parks today. and it never let him make any individual Lightning Lane selections. So he purchased Genie Plus, and I don't think he was successful at making Genie Plus or Lightning Lane reservations. But we had other people that were not even geographically close to Florida that were successfully making them. So
right.
Mixed bag at this point.
What about sellouts? Not being able to get an attraction because it's sold out for the day. Did that happen in any major attractions?
It happened to 2 attractions. Slinky Dog Dash was the first one. Rise of the Resistance also happened. We don't know if that was impacted by downtime and people that had return times then had to be shifted. We don't know how that exactly worked out, but Slinky Dog was the one that sold out the quickest today. I think everything else was on track to be fine for most of the day.
And Slinky Dog was the only one that didn't offer return time sequentially. It kind of jumped all over the place. Do we think that was a bug?
It was very odd.
Okay.
It was 1 p.m. at 7:07. It was 6 p.m. at 7:09. Then it went back to 3:30. Slinky Dog was a mess today. I would say it was closely followed, not mess-wise, but popularity-wise, by Millennium Falcon. It was the one that was on track to sell out the next. It might have already sold out by now. I don't know.
And some of that, I wonder, is Disney still getting used to the throughput for Lightning Lane? I wouldn't be shocked to learn that Slinky Dog, maybe the Lightning Lane was moving faster than they expected to, so they added some in, and that's why other times popped up. So I'm sure they're still figuring out the formula, which is another reason why it's hard to judge standby wait times right now, because it's possible they might start selling more Lightning Lane or less. We don't know yet.
Here's a good one from B&P. How long are the Lightning Lane people waiting?
I don't think collected very many return times, lightning times today, if at all. Anecdotally, I heard between 3 and 11 minutes on social media from all the various places. So it seems pretty similar to what it was in the Fast Pass era, right around that 5 to 10 minute mark.
Yeah, that's about what I saw too. I think the longest one I saw was like 12 or 13 minutes or something, but most of them seem to be in a lot of cases faster than the Fast Pass Plus line used to, which you are paying for it, so it probably should be faster.
You hope.
Okay, that's a great start. That's a lot of information for one day, but we'll be back here in a couple of days to check it out.
All right, everybody, go take some aspirin, maybe an adult beverage or two,
chocolate.
Try to relax for the day, and we will see you here 4 p.m. Eastern, same channels. And if you have any questions, feel free to contact us via social media. We are at Touring Plans pretty much everywhere. So.
Everywhere. Yeah, we'll be back on Thursday, and that'll be a Genie testing day, not Genie Plus. So do your homework before then so you know the differences.
That's messages for me.
I will. Please stop yelling at me.
Me too. All right. Thanks, guys.
All right.
We'll see you in a couple
everyone.
days.
Thank you.